For the very first time in 8 years, a U.S. national security advisor faced the media in Beijing. It's Jake Sullivan's very first presser in China, just a few months before the Biden administration wraps up. What journalists are most interested in was not about the past, but the future. What he thinks about the future direction of U.S. policy on China.
So I wonder, since the San Francisco summit, more than 20 communication mechanisms have been established or assumed, maintaining the momentum of ongoing dialogue between the two countries. So following this visit, what will be the key focus of the U.S. diplomacy towards China through next January?
As you mentioned, you talked about some of the maritime issues. I don't have to tell you, obviously things are very tense right now in the South China Sea, especially with the Philippines and some of these reef issues. Reading the readout, it said that you discussed some of this with Xi Jinping himself. Other than diplomatic speak, is there a reasonable roadmap or blueprint for the future? Because I think that the level of tension is reaching an extremely high level.
I'd like to ask you talk about a call between the two leaders within the coming weeks. Will there be a last meeting between President Biden and President Xi? And also back to those talks with General Zhang.
The reason for the International Press Corps to be highly curious about what would happen with and after the U.S. elections is not hard to understand. U.S. politics, many analysts say, has become one of the most unpredictable factors on many crucial issues, which certainly include the relations between China and the U.S. China has been holding on to the long-standing principle of not interfering in others' internal affairs, which of course includes the U.S. elections. But one could sense China's concerns as to whether U.S. elections and the changes thereafter would once again put bilateral relations dangling in the air. This apprehension can be felt even between the lines of the Chinese readout on Chinese president's meeting with Sullivan in Beijing on Thursday. President Xi pointed out that China's U.S. policy is highly consistent. President Xi expressed the hope that the U.S. will work in the same direction with China to maintain the stability of China-U.S. relations. Despite Washington's economic and political machinations to apparently contain China under both the Trump and Biden administrations, China's desire for stability, both in relations with the U.S. and in the broader international system, remains strong. That has been demonstrated by China's keen and persistent efforts toward official dialogue mechanisms under both U.S. administrations, when earlier mechanisms broke down, and China's unfazed in consistently laying down the groundwork for better intergovernmental and even intermilitary communications with the U.S. For example, the quiet talks between China's top diplomat Wang Yi and U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan over the past 16 months, according to the latest reports. China has also shown its commitment in keeping high-level interactions with the Chinese president meets in person with top visiting U.S. government representatives on many occasions. Not to mention China's sincerity in seeking to raise people-to-people relations with an invite to 50,000 young people from the U.S. to China. Of course, it takes two to tango. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan also acknowledged the significance before the end of his presser in Beijing over the past 4 years, just how crucial these official dialogues and direct interactions are.
We believe in the Biden administration that intense diplomacy matters because it doesn't resolve every issue. It doesn't mean that we're going to agree on everything. But it does mean that we can improve understanding, we can clarify misperceptions, we can reduce the risk of miscalculation, and we can identify areas to work together where our interests align that might previously have been hidden.
Candid, substantive, and constructive. Those are the words used by both sides to describe the meetings in Beijing this time. One can only hope they will go on to be the key words for official dialogues between China and the U.S. as those conversations continue. Both sides announced they are looking to future interactions on climate change, artificial intelligence, anti-narcotics, military to military, and particularly direct interactions between the two presidents, whether on the phone or in person.